Destiny, or karma, depends upon what the soul does about what it's become aware of. Edgar Cayce. I'm John Rose. Today, June 3rd, 2019. 2 days ago, I celebrated my 29th anniversary of discovering the most valuable knowledge in the world that gave my soul something to do with. And in 2 weeks, I'll be 65 years old. I get real reflective in the month of June, as I say all the time around this time of year, because I have my birthday and my anniversary. Reflect back on my life, on what I've done, and how fortunate I feel that I found this amazing knowledge so that I had a purpose in my life. Destiny or karma depends upon what the soul does about what it's become aware of. Once I became aware of why we're suffering, once I became aware of why we get sick, once I became aware of how to prevent and reverse most of our problems, I got excited. It's the last day I worked. From then on out, I was retired. When you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, folks. That's the great thing about joining the hero's journey. Now, a lot of people are never exposed to this knowledge, are they? And then once they're exposed to it, many times they really don't understand just how significant it is. How it is at the root of all of our problems. If you don't understand how or what the first cause is to our problems, then you really won't understand how powerful this message is. And that's why I try to emphasize this in all of my videos, to help you guys understand what we're talking about here and how this can transform your lives in ways you can't imagine. And when I think of that quote, I think of good old Jack LaLanne when he was on the Tonight Show several decades ago. He was on there with his wife Elaine. And the host said to Elaine, "Is he always this excited?" Jack interjects, "Well, if you found knowledge of how to live, or if you found how to solve problems, or if you have found how to save someone's life," which is what he actually said, "wouldn't you get excited? If you found out how to save someone's life, wouldn't you get excited? And then if you found out that this not only saves their life, but it solves most of our problems, wouldn't you get excited? If you found out the root to all of our problems, wouldn't you get excited? And wouldn't you feel compelled, as if it's your duty, to share this information?" That's how I felt. When I found this knowledge, I felt like it was my duty to tell everybody. How can you find knowledge like this and not want to share it with everybody? Reminds me of good old Henry Ford, one of the greatest men ever. When he found out how the world works, he said it was his duty to man and God to educate the public, to be aware of why we're suffering from that part of, or from that angle, which is part of my YouTube channel. Two main parts of my channel, if you're new to my channel. One has to do with the health aspect of it. The other has to do with the money and how we're being controlled. And this is what Henry Ford found out. He found out how the powers that be control us. And what did he do? He went out and bought a newspaper, because he knew the newspapers were owned and controlled by these people, and they weren't going to tell the public what was going on. So he bought a newspaper. And in a 7-year period of time, he spent $5 million of his own money. This was a long time ago. Didn't make one penny, because he didn't advertise. He hired the best journalists, the best reporters, the best investigators in the world, sent them all over the planet to dig up the information about how the powers that be are controlling us. Again, he lost money on this. He spent $5 million over 7 years. And this doesn't even take into consideration how much money he lost, because he was exposing the powers that be. He lost a lot of friends. He lost a lot of family members because they didn't understand. Their brains were so bombarded with bullshit, they were brain dead, and they didn't like Henry Ford for exposing or telling the truth and exposing these bad people for what they are, because they didn't understand anything. Henry Ford was such a great guy. It wasn't about money for him, although he was the richest industrialist at the time. But he didn't even patent all of his works because he wanted to make sure everyone could afford this. And again, the point I'm making it here is that he said it was his duty It should be your duty too, once you understand how to save someone's life. Once you understand how you can help someone who's in pain, it's your duty to tell those people. No different if you're walking along a river and you see someone drowning, it's your duty to jump in there and save them. If you can't swim, do whatever it takes to get them out of the water. It's your duty. Same as it is with this knowledge. It's your duty to share this information. It's too important. I tell you, again, 2 days ago was my 29th anniversary when I found the most valuable knowledge in the world. And when you start studying people who found this knowledge and they devote their life to it, and you see and you read what they've gone through and their experiences, they all come to the same conclusion, that this is the root of all of our problems. And this is ancient knowledge, ancient wisdom that goes way back. Read the teachings of the Essenes from Enoch to the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'll put a link in the description box below. If you haven't read that little book, the first couple of chapters, just read those first 2 chapters and you'll see they concluded the same thing. Study people that, like Herbert Shelton, Ann Wigmore, Arnold Ehret, people who coach thousands of people, heal thousands of people. They all say the same thing. It's the same conclusions I've come to. I know I've coached too many people. That's why I get so excited and so passionate about coming out here and helping people. Think about it. Wouldn't you like to retire today? I just did a video yesterday, how to retire early. Remember, folks, when you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That's the secret to living a meaningful life. It's sad that so many of us are brainwashed into thinking we need to do certain things to be happy, and I've always been fascinated by people who get to be my age, and you find that many of them have accomplished everything they thought they needed or wanted to accomplish, and yet there was still something missing, and they really couldn't figure out what it was. I'm telling you what we're missing. Life is an illusion. We got to get out of this material aspect of things where we're all focused on the money, because what happens with money, right? The more you give it away, the less you have. It's not true with knowledge. The more you give knowledge away, the bigger it gets, and that's the whole point of my YouTube channel. I want this knowledge to grow and get big. I want all you guys to get out there and share your message in your own little way, because you're going to appeal to different people. Not everybody's going to come at this message from a philosophical bent like me, but I'm a philosopher. I don't expect everyone to tell this message my way, and I wouldn't want them to. You got to find a way that's specific to you, relative to the events that you went through in your own personality, so that you can appeal to those with your personality and went through the same events also. And why? Because it's too important. Take advantage of this opportunity. As Winston Churchill once said, men occasionally stumble upon the truth, but most pick themselves up and hurry off as if nothing ever happened. Don't let that happen to you, folks. I'm offering you guys some incredible knowledge that will transform your life in ways you just don't understand until you do it. You can basically become disease-proof. You can live a long, productive life and enjoy your life. Life is for living. We're not supposed to be working our butts off and only see a small benefit of our efforts, because all those efforts are being siphoned off by this small group of people that Henry Ford tried to warn people about. Now, I'm going to put a link down below to that video by Henry Ford that I did. Henry Ford's Best Kept Secret. But I'm also going to add a link to a video I did recently on the Norman Dodd interview. I still get people criticizing me for my revisionism of some of the history that we've been brainwashed with, but you guys don't understand that there's a small group of people who own and control everything. They control the historians. Please watch the Norman Dodd interview if you haven't seen that yet. He was the chief investigator for the Reese Committee. They studied tax-exempt foundations back in the 50s, got access to the minutes of the Rockefeller Foundation and Carnegie Endowment, And they were very blatant in their minutes saying, we can't convince the current historians to lie about World War I, so we're going to create our own new stable of historians. We'll put you through and give you a PhD as long as you tote our story and lie to the people so that history keeps repeating itself. Check out Henry Ford, great man, a vegetarian. This man loved animals so much that if there was a bird's nest on part of his house, he'd board up the door and wouldn't even use that house or that part of the door of that house until the bird was hatched. If there was birds laying things in the harvest, he wouldn't harvest his crops because of the birds. That's what a great man this man was. And yet he too is demonized because he exposes the powers that be. When you expose the powers that be, you can expect to be demonized because there's two main stories they want us to believe in. One has to do with our health, and the other has to do with money. The ultimate tool of control, the absolute tool of control. They want us to believe in the contagion myth, and they want us to believe in scarcity. And that's what Henry Ford was pointing out. The powers that be take control over a country's money supply, prints the money, makes the people poor so they can be easily controlled. Once again, we shouldn't be working our butt off the way we do to make a bunch of money so that they can siphon off all the profits. So there are a lot of revolutions going on this planet right now. You got to find the one that suits you. Is it more along the lines of health, or does it have to do with more along the lines of politics and money and geopolitics? We have to wake up to both these realities, and we got to unite these two groups of people. The truth movement, we have to realize that there are a lot more people who understand what's going on the money side of it. People are waking up to the fact that the Federal Reserve is not federal. They're printing our money, making us debt slaves. That dollar that they were printing in 1913 is worth 4 cents today, and it's by design to keep us poor. They want us to believe in scarcity. They don't want us to wake up to the fact that we live on an abundant planet. But they also want us to believe in the contagion myth, so they can push the vaccine so they can continue to poison us. The hard part of this message for many of us is that we become helpless, or we think we're helpless, and we're not. That's the beauty about this message. We are the Goliath in this equation, folks. And a lot of us are afraid to entertain this idea. I understand that. That's why the video I did the other day is I tried to group people and figure out, who's the market to appeal to get them to be a trim tab. Not everyone is ready to be a trim tab, although everyone can be a trim tab, meaning you could be the rudder on the rudder of the ship that changes our species around based on what we're doing. We're making mistakes, folks. It's not any more complicated than that. As a result, we get sick. We end up with the wrong mentality. We have the sickest of us exploiting the sickness in us. And it's easy to not want to go that way, or it's easy to feel helpless when you don't realize how powerful we are. That there is an idea whose time has come that can transform this planet in a flash if we can wake up, if we can simply get the numbers. That's why you have to appeal to as many groups of people as you can. And of course the problem occurs is that there are so many different beliefs that so many times people get offended when someone believes one way a little bit differently, and then we just throw the whole baby out with the bathwater. We can't do that, folks. We have to look for the common, not good, but the common goal that we must have on this planet. I'm convinced there's only one thing that we should be doing on this planet, and that is to get us out of the hole we're in. To get us back to the golden ages we once had, where we didn't have all these problems that are within our control. So that's what I'm talking about here. Once you become aware, once your soul becomes aware that there's a way to put an end to the needless suffering on this planet, your whole life goes off into a whole new direction. Destiny or karma, it depends on what you become aware of. Are you aware that most of our problems are self-inflicted? Are you aware that you can do something as simple as a solid food vacation and transform your life on so many levels that it's hard to explain to people? Do you know that? If you don't, it's time for you to test an idea as time has come so you can see for yourself. If you want to get excited about life, folks, if you want to be like me, where I wake up every day with a big smile on my face, happy to meet everybody out here I can to help them understand that they've got more control in their life than they have any idea. And that we give up our control every time we think someone else can help us in areas where the problem is self-inflicted. The biggest problem we face, folks, is we're lied to and we've been told most of these problems are outside our control. And you know, Jack LaLanne, he was a sick little child. If you look at Paul Bragg's book, The Miracle of Fasting, on page 28, Jack LaLanne's shaking hands with Paul Bragg and Jack says, Paul saved my life at the age of 15 when I attended a health crusade in Oakland, California. Destiny or karma. Depends on what the soul does about what it's become aware of. Look what happened to Jack LaLanne at the age of 15. He met Paul Bragg. Look what Jack LaLanne did. What an amazing man. Died just recently. What was it? 96, I believe, is how old he was. For you younger people, Jack was one of the first guys on TV, fitness guy, doing all these exercises. He talked about good nutrition, but he didn't play it up as good as he should have or could have. Perhaps he knew it would have been a more difficult sell if he had. But Jack's a great reflection of what happens when you find knowledge and you can get excited about saving other people's lives. You can get excited about putting an end to the needless suffering on this planet. And even if all you care about are the animals, if you really care about the animals, you should care about the people first, because once we fix the people, then the people won't be abusing the animals. A lot of times people don't see that. They care so much about the animals that they lose sight on how important it is for us to change. So, I want you guys to open up your mind. Entertain an idea without accepting it. Consider the possibility that most of the things you've been told about how to eat and how to live and what you do when you get sick has been wrong. And that there's no doctor, no drug, no hospital that can do the things that we can do ourselves when it comes to the vast majority of the problems that we face. Because they're self-inflicted. It's the way we live. Are you getting sunshine every day? Are you exercising? How about your sleep? Are you getting enough sleep? Is it good, sound sleep? What about your thoughts? How about psychological damage? Were you damaged as a child? Did you have abusive parents? Are you still carrying those scars? Most of these problems that I just listed, folks, are 100% within our control. Even the bad things that were done to us are up to us on how we interpret those. And for many of us, we need to revisit those events with adult eyes. Because this is a sick world, isn't it? I'm not sure if there's such a thing as a family that's not dysfunctional on this planet. Even if everybody in the family is doing good things, they still live with a bunch of sick people, right? So that still makes it difficult. The great thing about the solid food vacation, folks, is we don't just cleanse on a physical level. We do cleanse on an emotional level. This is one of the best ways to get rid of some of the stored pain and hurt that we've had. We've got to heal ourselves. We've got to heal others. We got to put meaning in our life. We got to realize how important knowledge is, especially knowledge of how to live. And once we realize that, we can continue on a life that's worth living. For most of us, it's an illusion, isn't it? Most of us have no idea of really what's going on based on how we've been programmed and conditioned from the very get-go. Before we could even walk or talk, we were already brought up into a belief system and a way of life that guarantees the horrible things that exist now on this planet are going to continue. And it doesn't have to. All it's going to take is for enough of us to be exposed to this, and then if enough of us are exposed to it, there's going to be enough good souls amongst those who are going to do something with it. And I've got to be honest, it's hard for me to understand how anyone could find this knowledge and not want to share it and help other people. I just have a hard time understanding that. Maybe I'm an old soul. I don't know. It's an enigma to me. It's a big question mark. Don't understand it. For me, it's a no-brainer. When you find out that this knowledge can keep people from dying early, that this knowledge can keep people from suffering, it can save them a fortune. It can allow them to see their children and their grandchildren graduate and have other children. That's how powerful this knowledge is. Once you understand that, or I should say once enough of us understand that, then we can wake everyone up. That's the whole purpose of my channel. Try to get enough of you guys to keep sharing this message. Change your whole life so that it has meaning. That you can be excited like Jack LaLanne is, or was, and everyone else who joins the hero's journey. So I hope that you guys are ready to accept this mission. I hope you're ready to test an idea as time has come if you haven't done so yet. Got a 2-hour seminar. Seminars normally last 4 hours, so I've got 32 videos, related videos in this playlist to help you guys take your life to another level so you can transform your life and this planet. And once again, when enough of us can do that, everyone's in for a treat.